Do you feel like you guys get that criticism? I feel like on social media, like
Oh yeah,
basketball
yeah,
is like
crazy.
that's how I feel like. I feel like bro, they'll
Yeah.
dissect anything. You might be sitting in the bench and you say something, they be like, he's a meme.
Yeah, yeah. It's just part. I feel like it's just part of it. You know, you just kind of it's what you sign up for. There's no getting away from it. You know, you want to play pro sports, like you're gonna get it on social media now. Like it's just how it is. You know, it's the world we live in, and you just gotta ignore it the best you can. I think, you know, it's evolved over the years. You realize, you know, it's probably more prevalent in playoff games than like the day to day. You know, like a regular, you know, game 57 for you guys is different than, you know, game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. You know, there's more eyeballs on it. People care more.
Totally different.
If you lose a random game in November, it's a lot different than you're the guy that had a turnover in the fourth quarter, you know, and you lost the game. You're going to be way more of a target than you were a few months ago. So it's what you sign up for. It's why we do it. It's why people are fans. You know?
Have you ever been eager to like reply to somebody?
Oh yeah, for sure. But then you realize like that's what they want. They want you to acknowledge them and engage with them and, you know, get that reaction out of you. I think they win if you acknowledge them, in my mind. If people that are kind of trolling you or giving you a hard time, you know, I've always kind of thought that it's like, all right, whatever, man, or whoever's, you know, talking to you. But it's what you kind of sign up for as pro athletes. Every time that you play a game, you step out on the field or the court, you have a chance to be the GOAT or the hero, you know. Somebody's going to be on each team is going to be one or the other, you know.
It better be you. Might as well be you. I had the same conversation with Bobby. Wait, how old are you?
32.
32, okay.
Yeah.
92 born?
91.
91, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I had the same conversation with Bobby, and Bobby was saying the same thing. He said, kids who are playing sports now, like they literally will go on Twitter.
Yeah.
And like typing their name after the game and see like what they're saying. And I'm like, really? It's like, yeah. I was like, okay, so why would you, I'll give an example. Like why would somebody do that? You know, I'm thinking sometimes I think like, okay, maybe they do that because they want to see their highlights or maybe, you know, or something like the game motivation. But to go out there to see what they're saying about you, how is that going to affect your...
It's not. I always looked at it as no matter what somebody, like, I talk about it with our team a lot going into seasons, but it works for players too and teams. It's like it doesn't really matter what somebody says about you. People can say anything. They can tell you that you're going to be the greatest of all time, or they could say you're the worst player they've ever seen.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's true. You still got to go play the games.
Yes.
You know, so like you kind of determine your outcome as a player, as a team. Like people can talk, they can say you're great, they can say you're bad. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like you control that personally and team wise. Like it's all up to you guys and yourself individually of how you're going to play. So it's like it's all noise. You understand like media, fans, all that stuff. It's good for the game. It creates conversations around the sport, which in turn get people to watch it. And at the end of the day, it's the entertainment industry. Like sports is entertainment. It's just a different form. So you get it, but if you want to be really good at it and excel, like there's an element of like having to block that out and focus on what matters, because it doesn't matter what people say about you. It has no outcome on anything other than them talking. Doesn't mean you're going to do great or not do great. It's just white noise. It's all irrelevant at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think so exactly what you said, and Giannis says this all the time. Like he just, you know, I had Stephen A. Smith come to crash our pod as a surprise with Giannis. He said, Stephen, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I really don't watch your shows. And you know what Stephen A. Smith told him? He was like, that's great, but you don't watch it. Because that means you don't get affected by anything I say, positive or negative, because the shows is actually for the fans, right? And but the misconception is for players, and it's great that you say that, because I knew you was gonna say that, but I want them to hear it from you, because you're the caliber type of player and athlete, that they realize that even if they say something good, it's only gonna slow you down, because now you're gonna think you're better.
And it doesn't even mean that you are.
Exactly.
Yeah, and people on TV, they play a part. Like Stephen A. Smith, he's got to get people to watch his show, so he has to play. I've never met Stephen A., or I have he definitely doesn't remember, but he's got to play a character.
Where did you meet him?
He's got to play at some party event thing where I think it was like a charity thing or something. I don't know. He was there, but he's got to play a part. He's got to play a character to get people to watch the show.
Okay.
You know, he knows what's going to fire people up. You got to do that, right? Like, It's a business. You got to get eyeballs. You got to get people to watch and stuff like that. And he does a phenomenal job at it. But whatever he says, good or bad, it doesn't really mean anything. And he doesn't talk about baseball really. He just talks about basketball and football. But
basketball and football. Like, sometimes. I mean, he'll talk a little
I feel like you guys are way more subjected to that than we are. Like football and basketball guys. Like we'll get it a little bit from like smaller circles.
Who's the media personality for baseball?
Just really the show, like the baseball like channel and pundits and people that are on there. We don't really have much exposure on. We do. We're on SportsCenter and stuff like that, but we're not really in this. We got to do something like real bad to make it onto really bad to make it on Stephen A. Smith or one of those like daytime talk shows. So we kind of get off a little bit easy. You got to do something really good or really bad to get in there. If you're like kind of in the middle, you're probably skating free.
Skating free, yeah. I was telling this to Jan. I'm like, man, I think like, just because we leave and we go overseas, after we don't get to see like all the other guys that are being talked about, because all the other guys that are being talked about has to do a lot with like in their off season they're going to the LAs of the world, New York, so the world, like, and they're in the mix, so it's easy to be like, oh, you saw such and such there, or you saw like,
right, you just leave.
Yeah, I'm just not here.
Pick right back up where you left off when you come back over. It's probably pretty nice, dude. Honestly, it's probably a really good way to go about it.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I mean, and this year it's crazy. This is the year I've had the most people from the States visit Greece, and I was loving it because a lot of my friends have bought apartments in Greece now.
Really?
Yeah, because they love it. They just come in, they're like, so like a little bit business wise too, like think about that, right? And I always say this, like, obviously if you have a lot of money in the States, if you have $1 million in the States, you're really not a millionaire. It's expensive. You go to New York, $150 to pay for an Uber. Like, it's from here to there. It's insane.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a great opportunity for business in the States and great people and great, there's a lot of things that's great about it. But then if you go to Greece and instead of paying $150, I'm paying €6, yeah, you do feel like you have a great quality and the food is great. And instead of paying for to have a great steak, which is $80 to $110, you pay $25 and $30. So you're like, oh my God, this is the best place in the world.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm gonna go. It sounds awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, hey, please, people watching or listening, please go and go crazy on his social Greek flags, so we can get him to Greece.
I'll be there.
But it's the same thing. But a lot of them are buying like apartments in Greece. Do you travel at all overseas? Have you been?
I've never been to Europe, dude. Not one time. At all? Never been. So I've always wanted to go. So for me, it's like isn't it like the time to go like summer? Like that's the best time, right? Because it's always winter when we're done. It's November, mid-November.
You can October, November, because it's like in Greece, it's like 6 months summer.
Yeah.
So
you always got to go like right after the season ends here, and so I'm always like,
it is in summer, all summer. Yeah.
Yeah, we're from mid-February till, we're still going. So maybe if you make it all the way to the World Series for us, that's like the first week of November. So
hopefully November.
So that's why I've always just like, that was like the first thing I do when I'm not playing anymore, when I'm retired. Europe for sure. But
do you ever think
I'm gonna have to go before,
Yeah,
now.
You have to go. Do you ever think about retirement and stuff like that?
I never really have. I still really don't too much because I got at least 4 more years of playing at least, and I'd like to maybe go another 1 or 2. We'll see. Depends on.
So we're talking about 38, 40 then.
No, I don't think I'd go till 40, but I'm supposed to go.
Why not?
I'm supposed to play here till 36 at least.
Yeah,
and then
you don't want to.
I would if I'm still playing good. I'm still healthy-ish. I still like it a lot. I'm still loving it. I still want to do it. If I still want to do it, I still feel good. I still feel like I can play well. I'll keep going.
Okay.
If I don't feel like any of those things, I'll stop. If I don't feel like I'm good, I'm not enjoying it anymore, my body's done, then I'll just go home. You had enough. You gave everything you had. Your tank ran empty.
Yeah, you stole the show. So.
But then like when you're done, some guys, they just know when you're done, like, hey, I gave everything I had. In 4 more years, I'll have 16 years in the league. So like
16 years.
that's a really long time, you know. So
well, congratulations, bro.
Well, thank you.
Well,
I mean, but then after that, 1 year at a time is way less daunting than 4 or 5 that you're staring down. You're like, oh man, I feel terrible. How am I gonna make it through this month? And then when it's like, 1 year at a time, you can make it through a year. You can do well for a year. So I haven't really thought about retiring